up, Riley? You didn't come wake me up, did you? You slept through that alarm, huh?
He tried to go toe-to-toe with Yoda through the back door this morning. They were
A little skirmish?
substantial hissing.
Oh. No paper?
I need to keep this section over here for a minute.
Oh, you want me to read that first so that...
Huh?
Do you want me to read that first so you have it?
I have... Well, you can read it. It's just the horoscopes. Everything else I have on over here already. Hey, buddy. Hey, big boy. Meh. Meh. Hey, Matt, do you hear me? Do you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Do you hear me now? I think you probably do hear me now because you see me now. Do you hear me now? Is this loud enough? Hello, hello? If you hear me now, text me that you hear me now. And if you don't hear me now, text me that you don't hear me now. I'm not on the air, bud.
You're making me crazy.
Well, don't stay in here. You're going to make me nuts. Seriously. Okay. Thank you. Somebody from 409, hi Aunt Cheryl and Uncle Ed, how are you guys handling these crazy times during coronavirus? That's what your life look like these days.
Monica.
Who is
Monica.
that? Monica? Looks like I gotta put my dirt over there under the crepe myrtles. Good morning, Acadiana. This is Ed. I will be reading this morning from the Acadiana Advocate. Today is March 23rd. Happens to be the birthday of Amy Fountain. Monday morning, lots of news to read, almost all of it related to how we're going to deal with the coronavirus here in Acadiana. This is a service of Acadiana Open Channel. That's not what we call ourselves anymore. AOC Community Media, and we are reading from the Morning Advocate. We're going to start off with a little good news and bad news. Crawfish are going to be cheaper. The headline, the coronavirus impacting sales. Farmers produce fat crawfish crop, but profits are slim. This is written by Ken Stickney. He's the staff writer for the Acadiana Advocate here, does the business. The coronavirus pandemic is undercutting Louisiana's crawfish industry because of the shutdown of dine-in restaurants and a lack of backyard crawfish boils. Crawfish producer Gerard Fry of Acadiana Parish said this is unprecedented. It's crippling right now, Fry said. We've never faced anything like this. We can only sell 10% to 15% of what we catch. Fry says he has been unable to get all of his workers from Mexico to fully staff his peeling operation, so he hasn't had the peeling plant running at full capacity. We just laid off 4 workers today, he said, on Wednesday. We don't know where this is going to end. There's no way we can cover our labor cost. Fry said his labor agreement with his import labor requires him to pay at least 75% of their contracts, quote, no matter what, unquote. We're just hoping and praying that this thing is over soon, he said. Rice farmers have depended on crawfish to keep them afloat, he said, and this is gone now. Our crawfish season is basically over, he said. There's so much fear and so much panic going on. Fry said he had buyers in Dallas and Houston cancel further business. The fear is the unknown, Fry said. I don't know what it's going to take to recover from this. This just dropped in our laps, and we had no way to prepare for it. Vermilion Parish farmer Christian Richard said the catch just started to pick up. The catch really turned on this week, he said. We're crawfishing as much as we can. Richard said crawfish have been plentiful, but the numbers and size increased suddenly with warmer weather. Some people are buying sacks of crawfish to buy at home, but that's still a small amount. It's just not that many people buying, he said. At the Cajun table at 4510 Ambassador Caffrey in Lafayette still offers a full Cajun menu with crawfish. The restaurant staff can feel the growers' pain. Crawfish abound, but customers are scarce. Sean Swear, owner, says crawfish sales have been down to less than half, maybe a quarter of what they were before curbside-only services directed. Since then, everyone is confused and a little scared, Swear said. Swear said crawfish prices have been plummeting. We're nickel and diming them now, he said, and even at low prices, we can't lure enough customers who will buy them. He says he's halved his orders for crawfish. People are not working, pockets are not full. That goes with the whole industry right now. Farmer Mike Hundley in Acadia Parish said sales at 2 restaurants have decreased considerably. Restaurants have shuttered and many offering only delivery or drive-through business. Hundley has a crawfish restaurant in the Mowater community called Mo Crawfish, but it won't be able to operate it at a profitable level, so he's going to try drive-through. A drive-through works just right for the crawfish hole in Lafayette. An edict that Louisiana restaurants must shift to curbside-only sales seems to have only a beneficial effect on his business, his manager said. When government leaders said curbside-only or takeout, people may have thought of a mainstay drive-through business with local history. Our sales have gone up pretty significantly, Cole Stafford said. Crawfish Hole at 510 Verrott School Road has been a drive-through only operation for 9 years, and it is a business at that location selling already boiled product. Ever since then, we've had an increase in sale, he said, of his takeout-only mandate. He said volume is likely outpacing sales of 2019. Crawfish Hole is open 7 nights a week from 4 to 8. LSU agriculture crawfish specialist and Louisiana Sea Grant agent Mark Shirley said the overall turndown couldn't have come at a worse time. We're approaching the peak of the season, he said. Because the amount of crawfish bought in restaurants, because the amount of crawfish bought by restaurants has fallen significantly, you'll be lucky if all those restaurants will be doing 10 to 15% of what they were doing, Shirley said. Processing plants can only afford to buy so much crawfish to be peeled and frozen, he said. Processors must factor the expensive labor to peel, package, and freeze the crawfish with the hope of selling it at a profit. One way consumers can take advantage of the glut of crawfish is to boil and freeze the mud bugs at home. Evelyn Watts, LSU agriculture food scientist, said preparations will result in crawfish with a shelf life of about 3 months. After that time, the crawfish will still be safe to eat, but the quality will decline as the fat starts to digest the tail meat, she said. We don't have the optimum quality that you get with frozen crawfish bought at the store, she said. The shelf life can be extended by washing the fat from the tail meat, she said, but that would also take away much of the flavor. Watts said 30 to 35 pound sack of crawfish will yield about 5 pounds of meat. If someone doesn't have a boiling setup with big pots and outdoor burners, crawfish can boil in a stovetop in smaller amounts, she said. If the crawfish is being prepared just for freezing, no seasoning or salt should be added to the water, Watts said. Dump the crawfish into the boiling water, and once the water starts to boil again, cook for 7 minutes. She said the key is for the tail meat to reach 180 degrees. She recommends cooling the cooked crawfish before peeling it. The best results are obtained when crawfish are cooled to 50 degrees or less in less than an hour. After peeling, crawfish can be placed in resealable plastic bags. The vacuum seal bag is even better, Watts said. Flattened bags of crawfish can be chilled quickly by placing them in a slurry of half water, half ice for 20 to 30 minutes. The bag can then be placed in the freezer. Put the bags in a single layer in the freezer as fast as possible, she said. And that's the end of that story. We will go next to Louisiana issues a statewide stay-at-home order to combat coronavirus spread. This is something the governor did yesterday. This is written by Mark Ballard and Sam Carlin. As you probably know, Governor John Bell issued Sunday a statewide stay-at-home order until March 12th, requiring Louisiana residents to shelter in place along with going out for essential tasks as one of the most stringent steps yet to staunch the community spread of COVID-19. Louisiana has the fastest growing rate of confirmed cases in the world, Edwards said, citing a University of Louisiana at Lafayette study. Louisiana ranks third in the nation behind New York and Washington state in per capita cases of people infected with the deadly novel virus. The growth trajectory shows Louisiana increasing its confirmed cases on the same steep angle as Italy and Spain, where the virus has become exponentially widespread. This is why it matters, Edwards said, of the need to prevent people from getting close enough to pass the disease to others. If we want to flatten the curve, we have to take action today. In 2 weeks, Louisiana has gone from no confirmed cases to 837 and 20 deaths in 36 of Louisiana's 64 parishes, though most of are in the New Orleans metro area. Parishes without confirmed cases only means the novel coronavirus has not been discovered there yet. Increased testing will show a greater spread of the virus to more parishes without a doubt, the governor said. At the time of the news conference, state labs had tested 1,385 people and commercial labs had made 2,113 tests. Louisiana becomes the 9th state to announce a statewide shelter-in-place order since California did so on Thursday night. Residents in Connecticut, Illinois, New Jersey, New York, Ohio, Oregon, and Pennsylvania have begun to or about to begin staying at home for at least 2 weeks. Edwards' order, which he issued after talking with legislative leaders, closes state agencies to the public. People can still make groceries, go to the pharmacies, medical appointments, pick up food at restaurants, care for and support family members, walk or jog outside, take pets to veterinarians. Early learning centers, also known as daycare centers, will remain open. Sidebar editorial, that's kind of curious. Children's play centers, playgrounds, zoos, museums, amusement parks, racetracks, barbershops, shopping malls, beauty salons, music halls, and other non-essential businesses are to be closed. Public gatherings are limited to 10 people. People should not go to work unless providing essential services or to visit family and family without an urgent need. They should stay 6 feet apart from others. People know this is a difficult decision for me to make. I did not make this lightly, Edwards said. The order begins tonight at 5 p.m. through the governor asked people to start staying home sooner. One reason for the delay, he said, it has to work out with businesses how to handle the restrictions. Edwards listed as essential healthcare workers in groceries, pharmacies, takeout restaurants, and banks. Those working for utilities, refineries, oil field production, construction, and communication should also report for work. The governor's list is based on federal cybersecurity and infrastructure security guidelines. The agency defines essential employees as those who work to keep the infrastructure viable. They include staffing operation centers, maintaining and repairing critical infrastructure, operating call centers, working construction, and performing management functions. The industries they support include medical and healthcare, telecommunications, information technology systems, defense, food and agriculture, transportation and logistics, water, energy and wastewater, law enforcement, and public works. This move ratchets up the restrictions on Louisiana's 4.6 million residents and businesses, following orders by Edwards to shutter the schools, bars, casinos, gyms, and institute a host of other rules aimed at reducing face-to-face contact. We need to be resolute, focused, and determined. We need to beat this, Edwards said. We're going to do it because we're going to comply with these directives. Edwards did say this order does not restrict travel from parish to parish or even across state lines. Also, no police checkpoints will be erected. Enforcement will rely mostly on the goodwill of citizens. But Edwards urged Louisiana residents to comply, and officials should consider mandating stops. If the people of Louisiana are demanding that we enforce this order before they honor it, then we're in deep trouble, he said. New Orleans Mayor LaToya Cantrell on Friday issued a stay-at-home mandate for the city that does not include any significant new restrictions on business or residents, but represented local leaders' strongest plea to stay home unless absolutely necessary. Local and county governments in several large metro areas such as Philadelphia, St. Louis, and Kansas City mandated their residents to stay at home. Smaller locales like Nantucket Island off the coast of Massachusetts, San Miguel County in Colorado, where the ski resorts of Telluride are located, Athens, Clarke County, Georgia, which is the home of the University in Georgia, and Blaine County, Idaho, are under shelter-in-place orders. Louisiana has put in place a list of increasingly stricter rules over the past 2 weeks since the state discovered its first case of the coronavirus. Edwards has already shut down K-12 public schools, banned gatherings of 50 or more, shuttered bars, casinos, and gyms, movie theaters, and limited restaurants to drive-through, takeout, or delivery. The efforts are all aimed at one thing: limiting the spread of the virus enough to avoid an explosion of cases that Louisiana officials warn could overwhelm the healthcare system. Officials have in recent days focused on bolstering the state's healthcare capacity, looking for ways to increase the number of hospital beds, personal protection equipment like masks, and vital equipment like ventilators, which most people hospitalized for COVID-19 need. A call with President Donald Trump and other governors on Friday, Edwards warned that Louisiana was on track to run out of capacity to deliver health care in the New Orleans area in a week or 10 days under a worst-case scenario. So that's the governor telling you to stay at home. This is your newsreader telling you to stay at home. Maybe you should consider stay at home. Okay, next article. Coronavirus is stoking fear and anxiety. Here's what mental health experts have to say. And not a bad idea to listen to the mental health experts at a time like this. We are all going a little bit nutty, I think. Anxiety might not be an actual symptom of the coronavirus, but it's a common response to the uncertainty, feelings of isolation, and disrupted daily routines caused by the illness and efforts to stop its spread, mental health care professionals say. People are nervous, people are afraid, and the news coverage continues unabated. This is a tremendous amount of anxiety right now, not just with people with pre-existing conditions. We're seeing it across the board, says Leanne Trueheart, a Mandeville psychiatrist. For people with severe or persistent mental anxiety about COVID-19, from fear of getting sick or a job loss or economic fallout, can exacerbate their condition and cause them to need more help, the professionals all say. If you already have anxiety, depression, or family relation issues, that's compounded when you're cloistered together for a month, said Roy Segato, who teaches mental health counseling at the University of Holy Cross. Neil Richard, executive director of the National Alliance of Mental Health St. Tammany, said it goes much deeper. People who don't normally need a higher level of mental health services are not needing it because of the stress and the unknowns, he said. Isolation exacerbates symptoms that were manageable before. Demands for social distancing and the closing of many churches where groups like Alcohol Anonymous and Narcotics Anonymous normally meet are fueling concern about relapse in the recovery community, according to Kenny P., who is a Narcotics Anonymous group in the Slidell area. And the worry stretches beyond those already dealing with mental illness. Worry and concern are normal responses in abnormal situations, said Teresa Christian, a clinical psychologist at Ochsner on the North Shore. Problems arise when that turns into excessive worry and panic. One answer is emerging as online therapy and counseling, known as telemental health and telecounseling, not only for the patients who regularly receive such help face-to-face, but also for those who might have not sought it before. The University of Holy Cross Counseling Department launched free online counseling available to anyone in the community after March 16th. After spending a weekend training staff, including about 80 master's and doctoral degree students whose study is normally more theoretical. Salgado said, "We're transitioning from face-to-face counseling to telecounseling. Regular Holy Cross patients in the New Orleans area, counselors there have 200 active cases, are opting to continue receiving services, and the majority are doing so remotely through telecounseling that uses software that complies with federal privacy guidelines," said Salgado. "We've been working well," he said, "and so have regular phones. Patients are looking forward to their normally scheduled appointments. It's a sense of normalcy and a sense of comfort," he said. Phone-in telecounseling is offered Monday through Thursday from 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. by calling 504-398-2168. New Orleans Grief Center also provides free teletherapy group sessions with information on dates and times available on its Facebook page. Counselor Allison Duran says she is inspired by the recovery community pulling together as face-to-face Alcoholic Anonymous groups have been disrupted. "This experience is very much a grief experience, a loss as we social distance," she said. "Some are taking this as a social isolation, which for mental health is devastating." The Louisiana Department of Health has also created a Keep Calm Through COVID hotline. You can call 866-310-7977 to provide access to confidential counseling 24 hours a day. Richard Kramer of the Florida Parish's Human Services Authority said that Alcoholics Anonymous and Narcotics Anonymous groups are doing teleconferencing as well. It's something, but it's not quite the same. Some who are doing well don't do as well under these circumstances. Kenny P., the man who runs Slidell Narcotics Anonymous Group, says he is especially concerned about newcomers who are just getting clean and all of a sudden they don't have access to meetings. And are those who are ordered to attend a support group by the courts will have to use this as a reason not to do so. While many in the metro area have dealt with a previous crisis, living through Hurricane Katrina, this experiences some real differences, Trueheart said. After Katrina, people were extremely busy dealing with physical damage, but they knew what their challenges were. With this, we don't know, she said, but there are strategies people can use to deal with anxiety. The mental health professionals, especially doing those things that provide a sense of control. That includes establishing a schedule to give structure to the day and setting boundaries about when and how long to spend seeking new information to avoid being overwhelmed. Helping others is also healthy, especially reaching out to an elderly with a phone call, learning a new skill online, exercising outdoors, playing games with children, and spending family time together are ways to release stress. Salgado recommended eating meals together as a family. That's something that's fallen by the wayside. Now that we're forced into close proximity, turn it into a positive, he said. It's an opportunity to bond and reconnect in a way that we haven't offered in quite some time. This is all brought to you by the National Association of School Psychologists, and the National Association of Psychologists has resources for parents on talking with children about COVID-19, and the National Alliance of Mental Health, that's also NAMI, NAMI.org, has general guideline resources as well. So there's help out there for you. If you think you're having a little mental stress, look around and call for help. You might find just exactly what you need already exists. Even as, okay, next article, sorry, this is by Bryn Stoll as the staff writer. Even as coronavirus testing expands, social distancing is critical in Louisiana, officials say. The volume of coronavirus testing in Louisiana is expanding rapidly as commercial labs ramp up capacity and hospitals begin processing tests at in-house labs, the state official said Sunday. But widespread testing won't necessarily detect all infections. Both the sick and the healthy instead need to act as if they're potentially contagious and heed pleas to stay home and avoid unnecessary contact with others, said Dr. Frank Welch, medical director for emergency preparedness at the Louisiana Department of Health. Better hygiene and social distancing won't entirely stop the spread of the coronavirus, Welch said, but it will hopefully buy the state's health care system precious time to prepare for an onslaught of critically ill COVID-19 patients. Hospitals at the state are scrambling to expand extensive care wards and secure critical medical equipment like ventilators. Throat and nose swabs for the current coronavirus test can detect live infections in a person's respiratory tract, but likely won't detect the infection if the person hasn't yet developed symptoms or has already recovered, says Welch. Welch said Welch says he understands concerns for state residents who worry they might have been exposed but are not yet showing symptoms, and whether the illness over a couple of weeks might have actually been COVID-19. But even for more widespread testing might not detect these symptoms, Welch said. What the test is actually measuring is live virus in your nose and throat. For the majority of people infected with the coronavirus, Welch noted, a diagnosis won't change the treatment because only a fraction of cases develop severe symptoms that require hospitalization. Otherwise, Welch said, 6 patients can be sent home and told to isolate themselves from others until they've been symptom-free for at least 3 days, regardless of whether you're sick with the COVID-19 or flu. Expanded testing is now detecting coronavirus in people with less severe symptoms, Welch said. Testing shortages early in the epidemic tests were primarily used on patients hospitalized with severe respiratory illness. Welch echoed advice from other public health officials and epidemiologists who've urged everyone, even the apparently healthy, to avoid all unnecessarily social interactions and to act as if they might be silent carriers of the coronavirus. We need people to behave as if they might be sick and don't want to spread it to others, Welch said. That's what's going to blunt the effect of the healthcare system. Suzanne Strafe-Bourgeois, an infectious disease epidemiologist at LSU Health and former state public health official, said blanket testing coronavirus would provide more data for experts trying to understand how the coronavirus is spreading. But because testing capacity remains limited, Strafe-Bourgeois said, it remains critical to focus on scant resources on testing seriously ill patients, particularly vulnerable groups like the elderly and urgently needed healthcare workers who are at high risk of exposure. I think the biggest message is that not everyone should get tested at this point, said Strafe-Bourgeois. If you only have mild symptoms, stay at home, self-isolate. What you need at this point is to really focus on the people who are at the highest risk. Welch said official figures on the number of known coronavirus cases and completed tests in Louisiana will rise in the coming days as large numbers of commercial tests are reported to state authorities. Welch noted that commercial labs take longer than the state to process the test and report results, creating a lag in the official figures. Doctors and labs in Louisiana are going full bore to test people. That's the end of that story. Okay, I'm sorry, everybody. Let's go to the next one. This is about Lafayette. Back to a local story. With $50 million in cash reserves, Lafayette can handle the coronavirus for a while. This is written by Clara Taylor. Again, we're reading the Morning Advocate. My name is Ed, and this is a public service of AOC Community Media. By the way, this is a sidebar. The mayor will be giving us a rundown later today to explain exactly what the governor's stay-at-home mandate means here in Lafayette. But it means use your head if you got one. With $50 million general fund balance in reserve and money in the city parish public health unit fund, Lafayette consolidated government should weather the coronavirus, at least in the short term. But with falling oil prices in an area already suffering from an oil and gas industry layoffs, businesses closed to reduce spread of COVID-19, and uncertainty over how long the virus will impact the state, LCG's long-term financial future is unknown. Our reserves are good, LCG Chief Financial Officer Lori Toop said on Friday. But once it's spent, it's gone. I'm worried about the long term, but I'm not panicking. On March 8th, Saudi Arabia and Russia started an oil price war, sending prices plunging. The next day, health officials announced the first confirmed coronavirus case in Louisiana. When the number of confirmed cases in the state surpassed 100, John Bell Edwards prohibited gatherings of 50 or more people, postponing or canceling festivals and other events, and ordered a host of businesses to close, including the bars, restaurant dining rooms, casinos, movie theaters, and health clubs. Lafayette Parish President Josh Guillory said on Friday, ordered hair and nail salons, spas, tattoo parlors to close. Edwards on Sunday announced starting at 5 p.m. on Monday a statewide stay-at-home order, which will close non-essential businesses. Guillory is expected to provide more guidance Monday on the local compliance with the governor's restrictions. It may take weeks before government agencies like LCG feel the financial effect because sales tax receipts are reported in a month late. In the short term, she said, spending has increased and Lafayette Parish residents stock up on food and other supplies in response to the coronavirus. And that means more sales taxes for LCG, even for people who have lost their job because the closures are spending more money on supplies right now. But in 3 weeks, they don't have that money to spend, and as time goes on, it gets much harder. Property owners already paid property taxes for the year, Troop said, so that money is in the bank. The City of Lafayette's general fund has a healthy $50 million reserve. Auditors are working on the books now, Troop said. She suspects the city will have a little more money in the fiscal year than in November 1st, but it won't be the case in the current fiscal year, in part because of the raise employees received. This just compounds the matter. The parish general fund does not have much money in it, Troop said. The parish's combined public health fund, where reserves for attacks is placed before distributing to the public health fund unit, mosquito control, and animal control fund, will have about $250,000 in it after the parish council approves the ordinance transferring $500,000 to the public health fund for coronavirus response. The National Emergency Management Agency is expected to reimburse local governments their cost of responding to the crisis, Toop said, but local government has to pay up front and are responsible for a 25% match, which can include the time healthcare professionals volunteer to man the 311 call center and donations of gloves and masks. It can also take years for those reimbursements to arrive. That's too much unknown at this point, she said. We just don't know how long this is going to be. We don't know what it's going to be like. So we've got some money, but we've got some uncertainty. And here's a lighter note, and some people taking advantage of the opportunity to be proactive. An Acadiana artist offers free ways to be creative while sheltering in place for coronavirus. Written by Megan Wyatt. And we're scrolling down here. Let's get to the article. Golly, a lot of pictures on this article. Okay. It is perhaps a visual artist who faced the most uncertainty as the coronavirus pandemic closes art galleries, cancels festivals, and halts non-essential spending by businesses and individuals. But even so, some are using their creativity to help others in the community make sense of the uncertain days and weeks ahead. Hannah Thibodeau, better known by her artist name, Hannah Gumbo, created a digital activity book for children and anyone looking for something to do while sheltering in place. There's so much nervous energy right now with what's happening and this feeling of helplessness, Thibodeau said. I feel like I'm doing the right thing to help others right now. The unionist artist teaches art lessons in classrooms through the Acadiana Center for the Arts, so she tried to create a written version of what she teaches children during her 45-minute lessons. Initially, her digital activity download was sent to those who subscribed to her artist newsletter, but it has since been shared with families across the world through her husband's company. For those without access to the internet, Thibodeau has printed out the activity book and packaged it with colored pencils, a notebook, and other supplies, and she has sent out about 45 physical art care packages in the past week. Some have been mailed, but most have been donated to a food pantry in Eunice. Anytime I ask myself what it all means to my business and me, I fall into a sinking feeling, Thibodeau said. I don't know how to change anything or even what to do. Right now, we need to help each other. Bob Burrell, Lafayette visual artist, agrees. That's why he started a Facebook called Artist Quarantine for local artists to share ideas, resources, and inspiration during the uncertain weeks ahead. A few hundred people joined the group within a few days. It's one of the most positive things he's seen on social media lately. He's also seen people taking time to bake bread, plant gardens, learn instruments, and share art. It's a great time to slow down and be present. It's a great time to try new stuff. Burrell, who can often be found creating unflattering abstract portraits on Jefferson Street during the second Saturday Art Walk and other downtown events, social distances now put that on hold. He also has to figure out how to continue teaching art lessons to residents of the Louisiana Parish Transitional Work Program. He has just taught his first class earlier this month as a community service, but visitation is now restricted as a residential program overseen by the Sheriff's Office. The reception was amazing, Burrell said. They were all really eager to learn, so I'm trying to find a way to continue the class through assignments since we can't do in-person classes right now. Like other artists in the area, Arlene Bennett says she's not sure where her income will come from in the coming weeks. Instead, the Lafayette artist and business consultant has focused on creating a contest for local children inspired by one offered by a newspaper that she often entered as a child. The contest calls for artwork that starts with a single squiggly line. About 30 people entered the first contest, which she plans to do each for the foreseeable future. Acadiana businesses such as Cajun Crate, a curated delivery box, and Supreme Rice have offered to donate prizes for the winner each week. We're all doing this for our own creativity, for our community, and also for people who maybe remember us all after this is all said and done, Bennett said. I think times like this make us realize that our creatives in our community are a vital part of what we do. Like Thibodeau and Burrell, Bennett says she's seen with the best of humanity through her sharing I'm going to start that over, everybody. Like Thibodeau and Burrell, Bennett says she's seen some of the best of humanity through sharing her creativity with others over the last several days. Even though we're more isolated than ever, we seem to be coming together as never before, Bennett said. Maybe some of the people who are finding joy in doing these creative exercises will find a way to save the world, because we're the ones who feel it, who will grow up with their creative thinkers and problem solvers. Okay, so the artist community is contributing in their own right. And that's all of the big articles out of a small, thin Monday paper. I'm going to segue over now, and we will read you the horoscopes, something that's a little bit more lighthearted. Listen up if you happen to be an Aries. Set yourself up for advancement, whether it's a better paying job or something you'd prefer to be doing with your time. Choose what will bring you the most satisfaction, argue less, and achieve more. Taurus, offer a detailed analysis of what you want to be done or what you expect. If you speak with the heart and explain your position, you will get the support you need to reach your goal. Romance is featured. Geminis, if you want more, do more. Nothing will be free today, so be prepared to dig in and do whatever is necessary. Rely on others will lead to disappointment. Cancer, if you keep things in perspective, you'll gain ground. A change will boost your morale and bring you closer to your goal. What you do for others will enhance your reputation. Leo, focus on maintaining good relationships with your friends, family, and peers. A business trip or meeting will lead to benefits if you are willing to compromise. Virgos, follow a path that encourages you to take care of emotional and physical needs. Don't let others' actions or words negatively affect you. Libra, preparation is essential. Charm will not seal a deal if you don't have the skills required. Don't exaggerate your ability or underestimate the extent of the job. Proceed with caution. Scorpio, observe and take action. Insight into what others are doing and how best to get what you want will lead to success. To make plans to get together with someone special. Sidebar, they apparently wrote this without realizing that we got to stay apart. Sagittarius, make adjustments to your living space. Be careful with whom you trust when it comes to emotional situations. Someone will feed you false information. Limit how much you share. Capricorn, learn from the past and make the present better. If someone tries to limit what you can do, counter his or her intrusion and commence your own journey. Physical improvement is favored. Aquarius, do what you do best. Put in the time required to get good results. Play fair and plan. Fair play and a good plan will lead to victory. Be a leader, not a follower. And last of all, Pisces, use your pervasive ways with words to get what you want. A change you make will lead to accomplishments and proposals. A romantic gesture will be worth considering. And that's some of the horoscopes. And today we had a short paper, and it was all about coronavirus. But I think this is going to conclude our reading for the day. If those back in the studio want to get ready to switch us back to regular programming. In the meantime, I'd like to remind you this is a public service of AOC Community Media in partnership with the Acadiana Advocate. We'd like to bring you a slightly longer form local news and information that you can't hear on conventional radio. If you're interested in participating as a newsreader or volunteer, you can get in touch with us at our website. We'd also like to hear from you if you've got other input or other needs that AOC can help you with. Our website is aocinc.org. And if you feel like you'd like to contribute something verbally, it's a good time to get a podcast going. You can do it from home, and we can help you share it. Our hosting for podcasts is absolutely free. You can also find out information there on our website. Again, that's aocinc.org. My name is Ed. Hope you've enjoyed today's reading. We'll be back tomorrow with somebody more fluid at reading than I am. We'll bring you the news. Thanks. Stay safe. Stay inside. Be considerate. Love your neighbor. Have a great day. It's Monday.